Hey guys, it's Matt here, and today we'll be finishing up the Unsupported Devices Challenge. So the next clip that you will be seeing is on day 12, and the reason for that is, like I said, there's going to be a pretty sizable gap because I wanted to make it more genuine by not recording as much. So without further ado, let's move on to day 12. Alright guys, day 12 actually. Now I've actually skipped ahead quite a bit because, well, I don't need to record every single day. That would make the video way too long. After using the phone for now over a week, I've gotten used to the slowness. It's honestly not the worst thing, but when people said that iOS 12 ran okay on these phones, it doesn't run very good nowadays, and that's because a lot of newer apps are now optimizing their apps less. So apps like YouTube and the YouTube Studio and SoundCloud, they all lag pretty bad because they're expecting that your device has more than 1 gig of RAM. For instance, with my iPhone 6, trying to rotate the device while watching a YouTube video takes like 15 seconds. Trying to skip ahead tracks in SoundCloud, which you do by swiping, like it shows a full screen interface for people who don't use it. You swipe and it skips tracks. The iPhone 6 cannot do this very well. In fact, my iPhone 4 did it better with its oldest version, or with the newest version of the app. It did it better than this phone does. And that phone's only got 512 megs of RAM. And with the lower RAM, I can see why Apple didn't give iOS 13 or 14 to the iPhone 6, because 1 gig is seriously crap, especially with iOS 12. And that's kind of the thing. My iPad Air 2 with an A8X chip and my grandpa's iPad Mini 4 with the same exact chip in the iPhone 6 runs so much better than this thing does. And that's because of the RAM. 1 gig is simply just not enough anymore for devices and stuff to run smoothly. Anyways, moving on, the Apple Watch. So the Series 0 Apple Watch is actually still alright for what I need. It doesn't have a GPS, so it's not the most accurate when it comes to workouts and stuff, which does genuinely suck because I use that feature a lot and I like my workouts to be accurate, but you know. I honestly have no idea how it's getting the mileage without that GPS in it, and last time I tried it, I actually threw an error when I didn't bring my phone with me saying that it will not be able to keep distance. Sometimes there are times when I'm away from my phone and it's still able to do it just fine, so I don't understand how that works, but yeah, the biggest gripe I've got with the Apple Watch is just the lack of app support. You can see once I actually get this loaded up here, if it wants to load, you can see even loading the Apple Watch app on this phone is really slow. Like, look at that. Look at how little apps there are for this thing. And I've got several apps that are actually fully compatible with the Apple Watch, but they're not compatible because this Apple Watch is too old. And while the title of this video is Using Unsupported Devices for a Month, this Apple Watch is the only device that is 100% unsupported. The iPhone 6 and the iPad mini and the iPod Touch 6th generation all run iOS 12, meaning that they still get security updates until later this year when iOS 15 or iPadOS 15 drops. That means these devices still get security updates, but I still call them unsupported because, well, you can't run the latest iOS on them anymore, and a lot of apps are dropping support for them, like SoundCloud. As I was using this phone, I think I mentioned this earlier, can't install the latest version anymore. It requires 13.0. As for going over some of the more notable features with the iPhone 6, the camera on this phone supports recording in 1080p at 60 frames per second. Now, this is obviously not a great representation of it, but you can see that it's pretty smooth in the video. And that's because, well, like I said, it's running at 60 FPS. This is the oldest phone that actually supports that feature. So, I mean, if you want to record in 60 FPS, technically this phone would record at the same screen resolution that I use for my videos, which is 1080p 60. This device also does not support any kind of 3D Touch emulation, which a lot of iPhones do have, like my SE does. Even though it doesn't have 3D Touch, you still can hold down on icons to get context menus to show up. Well, you can use a jailbreak tweak to allow that on this phone. I've actually tried it on a different device, and it just caused it to be extremely unstable, and it just didn't work right. So, yeah, you can see nothing happens when you hold down these icons. A couple of other things, too, that's notable with this phone. The hearing toggle on here is kinda, well, it's actually a bit less useful than it is on the newer phones. In fact, actually, this sounds really stupid. I genuinely care about my hearing health. You know, I want to be able to hear when I get older. This does not actually show hearing health, and the health app does not show it either. They didn't add that, I don't think, until iOS 13. Which this phone obviously doesn't have. This toggle down here is only for live listen. As I mentioned earlier, no swipe to type. You can see right here, that feature was not a thing until iOS 13. iOS 13 had a lot of features. Along with Siri is full screen. You can see right here, this is actually how it looked in iOS 13. They changed this in iOS 14, and while Siri does have the new voice, that's how Siri looks. And it's like that way on my old iPad mini as well, which makes it a lot more inconvenient because it doesn't just appear on the corner. It's a whole thing that invades the entire screen. Obviously, that's how it's been since Siri was released with iOS 5, but you get used to really handy stuff really quickly. And one more thing, the iPhone does not support Find My. It has Find iPhone there, which was a feature in I think even iOS 5 and 6, but it does not have the Find My app. And more specifically, since this phone doesn't run 14.5, it does not support AirTags, and yes, I have one. So this phone cannot use the AirTag that is in my wallet. Finally, being day 12, I still have 19 days left to go for this challenge. I'm not even halfway done. Alright guys, it is day 26 of using unsupported devices for a week. How's it been? Well, let's just say I'm going to be happy to move back to my iPhone SE, and I'm going to be really happy to move back to my Series 3 Apple Watch, to my iPad 8th gen. I'm just excited for all of that. Now the reason why I'm super excited about that is because, as I've discussed earlier, these phones can't do nearly everything that newer phones can. First of all, let's take a look at the iPhone 6. So, the iPhone 6 can run most apps pretty much alright. It can run everything I need it to, except for like the Apple Store app and a couple of others. But it can run most everything I need it to just fine. But here's the problem. iOS 12 is losing support, and it's losing it fast. A lot of apps like eBay won't run the latest version. You can run the last compatible versions, but SoundCloud also dropped support, as I mentioned earlier in this video. You cannot run the latest version of SoundCloud on the iPhone 6 anymore. You need to run an older version. YouTube and the YouTube Studio are both going to be dropping support for iOS 11, so the iPhone 6 will still be supported with YouTube and stuff for a little bit, but it wouldn't surprise me if they cut YouTube not very long after that because, well, the iOS 9 version of YouTube is dead. That happened not very long ago. You cannot use the iOS 9 version of YouTube anymore. It just doesn't work anymore. So you can see these are all the apps that have been loaded onto my phone, and a lot of these apps work fine. I mean, all of them do, but the problem is some of them are just freaking slow. For instance, take Discord. Discord works, but I don't like using it on the go. It's just too slow. And take YouTube. Rotating the phone to watch like a YouTube video or something takes way too long. It takes about 5 or even 10 seconds to rotate the video from portrait to landscape on the iPhone 6. That's pretty bad. Along with, if you accidentally go back into portrait, it takes another 10 seconds and the video also is completely frozen. Now, I will give the YouTube app this. The iPhone 6 does have support for 60 FPS video playback, and it will do it just fine, unless you have some random buffering issues, which, yeah, this phone has a ton of those, where just randomly, for no reason it seems, it will just randomly buffer on a video, and not because the internet's bad. We have 200 megabit internet, and this phone can see most of that, enough to be able to render a 1080p 60 video. This thing is just too slow to be able to handle videos smoothly, and that's kind of a problem. Like I said, it will run them fine most of the time, but sometimes you'll have those can you stop dimming off? Occasionally you'll have those random buffering issues, like I said, and there's just nothing you can do about that. Another app that I use frequently that's really slow on this phone is the Sweatcoin app, and I'll actually open this up for you. So you can see it says loading here. It will sit here, and it will sit, and you can see it's just not doing anything. My main phone would have already loaded this app by now. You can see it's trying to load all of the interface and all the steps and all that stuff. There you go. So it's finally finished loading, and there we go. Now, and it clicked something I didn't want it to. No. But yeah, you can see now it's working, but you can even see it still takes forever to load. It takes ages to like get anywhere there. So that's just unfortunate that just takes forever. But another app that was annoying was the Ring app. This app takes forever to open. In fact, you might say that is a common theme. All apps on this thing take forever to open. Another app that I frequently use is Snapchat. You can see how long this is going to take to load. There we go. You can see there. Flip the camera. Oh man, come on. There we go. You can see there, that took way too long to load. And you can see just swiping between stuff. And you can see just using it is just too slow to really use. I've actually had it where it fails to record video. Because the phone's so slow, it doesn't actually keep up. So it just literally records audio with the still frame. So it's like, otherwise, the phone itself works fine. The apps and stuff that I need to run do work. Problem is it's just slow while doing it. In fact, even Mac Tracker takes a lot longer on this one to load than on my main phone. That would have been nearly instant, and that took a decently long time. I can already pretty much give the verdict of this phone, so I'll do that now. But I'm not going to be done with the challenge until I think 4 more days, because while it is a month, I'm going to just be doing 30 days because that's easier to just keep track of, along with June is 30 days long anyways, so kind of works out. While this isn't my final verdict, should you be using the iPhone 6 in 2021? No, you shouldn't. Please get a supported device, especially one with more than 1 gig of RAM. I honestly think you could even get an iPhone 6S, and it would be heaps better than this phone would be. So maybe at least go for that. Those aren't very expensive, and they will run the latest version of iOS 14, though they might not run 15, and I really don't think they will. So, although it should technically be much, much faster than this, even when that phone loses support. Now, let's move on to the Apple Watch. This Apple Watch is fine, actually. I really don't have that many issues with the Series 0. The big issue with the Series 0 is just the lack of app support and the fact that it runs a very, very old version of watchOS, running watchOS 4, which is completely unsupported. It doesn't even get any security updates, and I don't think it ever will get any more. So yeah, the Series 0 Apple Watch, you can see literally how many apps are on here. Most of the apps that I have on my iPhone 6 are actually perfectly supported on Apple Watch, but this Apple Watch runs such an old version of the firmware that it flat out just they don't install. I've only gotten 1 app to install. You can actually see it in the bottom corner. Now you can also see the Series 0 is missing a lot of apps, a lot of ones that are now in modern watchOS. One of which being the calculator, another one being podcasts, another one being the radio app, another one being the walkie-talkie app that was released with watchOS 5, another one being the App Store as well. I think there's even more of them that I don't remember, but so yeah, Series 0 is missing a lot of apps. Voice memos is another one that I remember, but yeah, the Series 0 just doesn't get any of those apps. You can see the apps that are there are the ones you get. You can get more installed via the App Store, but good luck doing that. That's kind of unfortunate, but that's just how it is. However, though, as a basic timekeeping device, obviously it's going to be perfectly fine. You can even use the Activity app and the Workouts app and basically anything that you'd need to do with that. And it even supports activity sharing as well, and Apple Pay. So the Series 0 Apple Watch supports all of those features. Now, the features that it does not support are swimming workouts, it's not water resistant, it's splash resistant, but Apple does not want you to go swimming with this Apple Watch. This watch does not support GPS, so that means workouts aren't going to be very accurate, and if you don't bring your phone, you don't get distance, I don't think, at all. So there you go with that, I guess. And yeah, being a Series 0 Apple Watch, you're not going to get great battery out of it, especially because the thing is moving on from 5, it's getting close to 6 years old at this point. The Series 0 Apple Watch, you're not going to get great battery with it anymore. Here's the thing that I think a lot of people do not realize when it comes to older devices. Wind, calm down. You don't need the latest device and the latest versions of stuff in order to stay up to date. Like, you can have, I would not say go for a Series 0 Apple Watch, but even a Series 1 or a Series 2, honestly. Those are still really good options, especially the Series 2, as that can do swimming workouts and has a GPS. You can find them refurbished on like eBay and stuff for like $80 for Series 2. These can run up to watchOS 6, and they have GPS, they have swimming workouts, they have all of that. The only features that does not support is it does not support having cellular, but the Apple Watch never had a cellular model. So, and yeah, I would say if you have a Series 1 Apple Watch, that's also probably fine too, especially because, while it doesn't have GPS or it doesn't have swimming workouts, you still get watchOS 6. You still get a lot more app support, you still get a lot more newer features. And I think that watchOS 6 actually released the Now Playing app, which I know existed on the old ones, but they revamped it in watchOS 6. They added the App Store, the calculator, the voice memos, walkie-talkie. All those exist on the Series 1, and the 2 that do not exist on the Series 0. If you want to have a calculator app or a voice memos app on the Series 0, you gotta find an app that will support watchOS 4. So, finally, let's move on to the iPad and iPod. iPod Touch, haven't really been using it that much because my iPhone basically does everything I need it to, so iPod Touch, it's fine. Battery on that's a bit weak, I think, but iPad. I don't have any full-size iPads that can run iPadOS 12, which is now, I guess it was called iOS 12, but I don't have any full-size iPads, so I've been stuck with my iPad Mini 2, and that's been fine, actually. I do appreciate the mini form factor, but I also like the bigger design, and I kind of wish I had an original iPad Air for this challenge, because those run iOS 12, and they're the full size. But yeah, otherwise that device has been fine. It's been the same speed as my iPhone 6 has been. And that I think uses the A7 processor, so it's even older. But so it's basically like an iPhone 5S. Like I said, that iPad's been fine for what I need to use. And that's the thing too, is it doesn't run as big of a part of my life as my phone does. The iPad's good for media consumption, which it can do just fine because it doesn't have the weird rotation glitch for some reason that the iPhone 6 has. That device, YouTube restricts and will not allow you to play any 60 FPS content on there. Even if the video supports it, you'll be stuck at 30 FPS, even at 1080p. So this was something that I kind of thought of and I thought would be interesting. Tell me in the comments if you want me to use the iPhone 4S for a week. If this video, I'll do a like goal. If this video hits 50 likes, let's just say, because you actually smashed 20 likes in less than a day. If this video hits 50 likes, I will use the iPhone 4S. And yes, while this might seem like begging and stuff like that, I want to actually know if people genuinely want me to do this. Especially because here's the thing. I'm putting the like goal so high because I don't want to do this. I will do it. I just need to get a battery replacement in this phone first because the battery health on this thing is a whopping 39%. So yeah, I'll get the battery replaced in this phone first if that's the case. So it might take a little bit for the video to come out, but battery replacements with the tools on iFixit are like 17 bucks for this phone, so I'm not worried about it. I could do it easily. The reason why I'm actually curious about using the iPhone 4S for a week, even though I used an iPod Touch for a week back in 2019, I used the iPod Touch 5th gen, and I said I'd never want to do that again. I'm curious if the 4S will be able to outperform that. With the smaller screen, it doesn't have to render as much, and well, I really don't know if there's any spec differences between them. I don't think there are, but I'm curious if the 4S will be more usable than the iPod Touch 5 will be because, well, this phone is a lot smaller, doesn't have as much to render on screen, and the brightness keeps going down for no reason. 50 likes, I'll do that. I'll make myself suffer, but I'm not doing a month. It's good to say this. It is day 30 of the challenge. Today's the last day, and honestly, I'm very happy to move away from the Series 0 Apple Watch and my iPhone 6. I would even say at this point, if you still have an iPhone 6 or a 5S or any device that's still running iOS 12, you need to switch away. And not to do with the fact that iOS 12 isn't capable. iOS 12 is actually decently capable, but the problem is, while the iPhone 6 and the 5S can run iOS 12 fine, iOS apps and stuff are starting to move away from iOS 12. And that's to be expected because iOS 12 is going to be losing its extended support this year. So even if you can move to like an iPhone 6S, because these are running iOS 14 and now after WWDC apparently can now run iOS 15. Yeah, it's a good move to switch away from the iPhone 6 to even a 6S. If you're gonna go buy a cheap phone, I would recommend that you go with an iPhone 7 or even an iPhone 8 or 10. 10s aren't really the cheapest, so I mean, I would honestly at that point just get a new phone. You can get an iPhone 11 brand new for like, I think $599, which is pretty decent actually. You can even get an iPhone 10R for even cheaper, and then you can get the iPhone SE for $399. So honestly, I would say that if you like the classic home button design, like you've been using an iPhone 6 specifically for this reason, the iPhone SE would be perfect for you. They've changed nearly nothing besides adding wireless charging, making the device way more powerful, of course, than an iPhone 6, and obviously, you know, getting newer iOS versions for quite some time after this, so there's that too, as it rocks the A13 processor. But yeah, simply put, at least go to an iPhone 6S if you can. The iPhone 6S, like I said, will be getting iOS 15, and that means it will be continuing to have full support for iOS, while the iPhone 6 will be losing the little bit of extended support that it had this year. At this point, I'm very happy to be done, at least close to done, with this iPhone 6 challenge. Once the clock strikes midnight tonight, I will be able to use my main phone again. Tomorrow, I'll go over all my final thoughts with the iPhone 6, and if it's really worth it to buy one. And with that, it's midnight. I'm done with the challenge. Oh boy, am I excited. Where's my phone? There it is. Put it in this thing. I'm so happy to be done. Got my iPad out. Get my phone. Oh, there it is. It's been a while since I've used this. Probably shouldn't power it on first. I need to get the SIM card out of my iPhone 6 first, which is right there. Good job, iPhone 6. You did well. Now that the challenge is over, what are my thoughts when it comes to the iPhone 6 and the Series 0 Apple Watch and all of these unsupported devices? Honestly, if you still have an iPhone 6 or a Series 0 Apple Watch or like an iPad mini 2 or 3 or even an Air with iOS 12, I would still say that they're still completely usable today. Now, would I recommend that you go out and buy one? Absolutely not. These devices are not usable whatsoever. And these devices are not new anymore. They're quite old. And now that iOS 15 is coming around the corner, these devices are going to lose their extended support once iOS 15 is released later this year. So you only have a few months left. You might still have one of these devices and you very well might still be happy with it. That doesn't mean that you're going to be happy with it even just a year down the road when apps are going to start requiring iOS 13 as a minimum. In fact, several apps already have started requiring that. It becomes kind of a problem when you have an older device and you can't install apps on it. You know, you kind of need apps, so what about the Series 0 Apple Watch? Well, with that, I would say there's some exceptions. Well, first of all, it's not the most accurate when it comes to workouts, and you can't do swimming workouts with it either. It also does not have walkie-talkie, or a calculator app, or a podcast app, or even anything remotely similar to that. Like the App Store isn't on there either, so you have to install apps through the iPhone. But the problem with that too is since the watchOS version on that watch is out of support, and it's out of its extended support as well, because you need watchOS 5 or later to have extended support, and the device runs watchOS 4, you don't get many apps at all. I only found one app out of all the apps that I use that still supported the Series 0 Apple Watch, and I have like 6 or 7 apps that have watch versions. If you don't really care about third-party support with the Apple Watch, I would say that that's different because the Apple Watch plays kind of like a side role. Like it has iMessage, it has phone calling, it has FaceTime audio, so that plays a different part of my life at least, where I don't need as many third-party applications. I can just live with the built-in ones and be on my merry way. That's why the Series 0 Apple Watch was actually fine for me for the month that I was using it. For an iPad, let's go to the Mini 2. That's the iPad that I used for a week, and honestly, I think it was fine, but the thing is too, that iPad's also old. It's going to suffer the same problems as the iPhone 6 will, except people won't need as much from an iPad. It's more for, at least for a Mini 2, you're going to use a Mini 2 for media consumption. You're not going to be editing videos on a Mini 2. It's not powerful enough for that. So that's more for media consumption. If you can get the last compatible apps on the Mini 2, like the YouTube app, YouTube Studio, SoundCloud, Discord, all that, then it's still fine. Now, with my iPhone 6, I had to get last compatible apps as well, and while they still work nowadays, they won't work forever, and this applies to the Mini 2 and the iPod Touch 6th Gen. Finally, I'll just go over a couple of things that I ran into while using the iPhone 6. One, obviously, had to pair an older Apple Watch, I already discussed that. But another thing that I had was there was no swipe to type. Now that's actually probably a very minor feature to a lot of people, but that feature I use all the time. And it was a really big pain to get used to swiping and seeing just nothing happen when you swipe to type. Now, another thing that I actually did like about iOS 12 is it actually had the magnifying glass. When you hover over text, when you hold your finger down on text, it brings up that magnifying glass. That was removed in iOS 13 and 14 and is still like that to this day. Though iOS 15, that will be coming out this September, will bring that back, which I'm very happy about. Another thing that was absent from the iPhone 6 that's not probably important to a lot of people is the hearing health widget in the control center. I actually use this feature a lot just because I want to keep my hearing a-okay, and when I was younger, I used to listen to music a lot louder than I probably should have. Now, it's nice to have that thing on the newer phone keep me in check when I listen to music too loud, so then I can know, hey, I need to put the volume down. I know that sounds stupid, but whatever, it's what I like. And the iPhone 6, while it did have the hearing control center toggle, which was released with iOS 12, it did not have any hearing health features. It just was for live listen only with AirPods. I use live listen sometimes. I actually did use it a couple times, I used it a couple times just for the heck of it. It wasn't totally useless to me, but it was a lot more useless than it would have been if it actually had the hearing health built in. And I checked the health app on there too. It uses the older style health app, so it does not have hearing health either in there. So finally, another thing that there are a couple other ones, but I'll just mention that there is no Find My app, and specifically, there is no items section of the Find My app. I actually do own an AirTag, and I couldn't use it with my iPhone 6, and when I brought my AirTag with me, because I have it in one of my items that I bring, and I brought my iPhone 6, my mom's phone actually got an alert saying that there was an unauthorized AirTag following her. That wasn't hers. I'm like, I have an Apple device with me. Why is it doing that? But yeah, whatever. Obviously, that problem's not going to happen anymore now that I have my main phone on me, but still. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. Again, 50 likes on this video, and I will use the iPhone 4S for a week after I replace the battery, of course. So expect that video to come out probably a little while later after this video hits 50 likes, if it does. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. If you liked it, then give it a like, click subscribe if you like the content that you see on the channel, and yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I will see you guys all later. Bye.